Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3724 of The Wayward Dragons.
I don't even know what episode we're on. We're in the 40s. You can tell me that.
I don't either. I pulled a random number out of my ass because I thought it would be funny. Oh, and I was right.
I think we're in the 40s. I think. I don't even know anymore. I don't even know. But we are your hosts.
Welcome to episode something.
We are your hosts.
And believe it or not, we are 100%
for real.
sober.
For real. I am.
We just have massive mental issues.
Yeah. No.
I guess that's not even like being joking or anything like that. We legitimately have massive mental issues.
I tell people, I'm just neurospicy, people. I'm a little spicy up there. Neurospicy. I'm kind of okay. I'm kind of not. Who knows today?
Yeah, I noticed this. Apparently, we just stopped numbering our episodes.
Yeah. And I'm to the point now where I'm going to start naming our review episodes actual food sides. I'm to that point because the company that we use to the platform that we use to launch our podcasts and stuff like that, you can't name the same episode the same thing all the time. So with our old host, I could just kind of keep going with the same numbers, change the number. I can't do this with this new host. So I have to find a new name every time, and I'm running out of things to say. So I'm at the point now where it's going to be just random food. So if you see just a random food like macaroni and cheese, that's a book episode for future reference. I'm to that point.
Yeah, so and we'll be getting some really weird sides eventually. But yeah, so we'll pull out a 1960s cookbook. It has all the weird foods in it. And,
random thought. So I'm not on TikTok. I refuse to have TikTok, but I scroll through Facebook and Instagram reels, which are 2-ish weeks behind TikTok.
Same.
There's a lovely gay man who goes through all those old ass cookbooks and makes everything in them. And he actually has so he's got an actual cookbook of all the good ones that you can actually buy, but his reels crack my ass up because he made one time.
He's
he's
actually on YouTube.
He made cornbread one time.
Like he has the full.
He made cornbread with Cheese Whiz one time, and him making that cracked me up. His new cookbook's actually out right now. Not to plug him, but his new cookbook is actually out if you wanted to do that. But I might get to it.
Yeah, I'll send you his YouTube channel. He actually has a full channel where he goes through the whole thing.
He cracks me up. Him in the
But his name is B. Dylan Hollis.
Him in the no way. For fuck's sake. That Minnesota man or Wisconsin, he cracks me up too. I love him too.
Have you seen the guy who takes a recipe and runs it through Google Translate through 10 different languages and then back to English and then follows the directions? Oh, that guy's hilarious too.
That's so funny too.
But yeah. Anyways, so welcome to episode 46.
Yes.
Of The Wayward Dragons. We are completing our Satanic Panic episode, and it's been a journey. And like I said, it's one of my favorite topics, but it does weigh a lot on you
because it's a lot of I guess sensitive topics, and we're saving saving the most toxic and negative for last. And on a great note here. So this is kind of a joint episode. This is going to be both of us kind of talking about satanic ritual abuse. So just trigger warning, we're just going to be talking about a lot of horrible things in general, specifically stuff to do with children. So child abuse, child pornography, child sexual abuse, murder, the whole 9 yards. We're going to be talking about it. So if you're sensitive to any of those things, please just skip ahead to our next episode, where we actually, for the next couple after this, we're going to be talking about lighthearted things like the Mother Goddess, and stuff like that, to kind of change up the feed from this depressing series that we've been doing.
And our next episode is actually a review episode, and you get to hear us rant and bitch and moan. And
yes.
I when I say I'm not going to go on rants, and I go on rants anyways, because that's how my brain works. And, you know, how much I love and adore things like greedy people and, you know, third wave capitalism and all those fun things. Because we record our review episodes before we record backwards. So
that way, like, all of our banter is in the review episode. So we also haven't seen each other in a good minute due to just family reasons. We kind of took a hiatus for a second to just kind of mentally break. So that's also the reason why there might be a little bit more banter. But let's get into it. Well, how are you? Even though we just answered that.
Well, we got a new division manager at work who said we were no longer working weekends, and then turned around and made us work this past weekend.
That sucks.
So, you know, I'm annoyed and mentally tired. So, you know, this is me and my day off, hopefully entertaining all of you listeners. If not, I don't know what the fuck you're doing here.
Yeah,
like, come on, dude. Read a book, find something better to do with your life. You know, go walk outside in nature. Rob a bank, something. I don't know. If we're not entertaining to you, then I don't know why you're here.
This is true.
Unless you enjoy torturing yourself, then you know what?
Some people do.
Have fun.
Some people hate themselves that much.
Or some people do it for other reasons. We're not getting into that. Sorry, I'm tired. Trying to get all the lighthearted stuff out of the way first.
Restart on this train wreck.
Yeah.
Woo. Woo-wee.
So many of the things that we've covered include, you know, the satanic alleged ritual abuse of the children in the daycare, the events of Michelle Remembers. According to estimates, there were over 12,000 unsubstantiated cases of satanic ritual abuse, or SRA, also known as satanic abuse, ritual abuse, organized abuse, and so on and so forth, in the United States between the 80s and 90s. As we've said previously in other episodes, a lot of this originated with the publication of Michelle Remembers, where this, I say, whack job bullshit of a psychiatrist did regression therapy and allegedly brought out all these memories of this woman, Michelle Smith, who was supposedly in a satanic cult in her childhood, where she watched them, like, you know, drink people's bloods and murder people, and you know, satanic orgies and all this other fun stuff that never happened, according to her. It even resulted in the death of her mother, who was still alive at the time of the publication of the book. And this woman is just
Yeah.
ridiculous, but it caused all sorts of issues. Um, that's
Yeah.
such a common thing, though. So it and with like when people it stems before this because of you know the Christian viewpoint, and not to knock on Christians, but this is going to be a
Yeah.
heavy knock on Christians. Um, the Christian viewpoint of satanic practices and satanic beliefs that you know depending on they view all satanic practices and beliefs and pagan beliefs as satanic. Uh, but according to them, there's eating of babies,
Oh yeah.
sacrificing of children, sexual assault on people, massive orgies, and all
Yeah.
this other stuff.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I have been to I don't know how many different Sabbats and rituals and uh, open Sabbats for other groups and festivals for paganism. I have never seen a single orgy. I have been to a couple black masses, uh, just
Yeah.
out of interests. There was no partaking of blood or anything like that. This is all just it's a big bunch
Yeah.
of bullshit that's pushed to drive an agenda, to drive that Christianity is the right belief system, and Christianity is the only true belief system, and everything else is evil and demonic and
Yeah.
satanic and harmful. So they lump all these harmful things in with it. Uh, and of course, there are individuals throughout history, because it's been done every
Yeah.
side of the coin, every side of the die, um, where people have done fucked up shit and claimed
Mm-hmm.
it as religion. But the majority of the time, it's been Christians
Yes.
that have done it. Or done it under the guise of Christianity. But for some reason, the culture we live in likes to say that it's everything
Yep.
but Christianity and refuse
Yeah.
to acknowledge that. Uh, unfortunately, you have pedophiles and you have, rapists and everything in every group of
Yes.
people. There's not a group of people out there who don't have it. There's not a belief system out there that people just instantly don't have these issues or don't have these afflictions or don't have this mindset that this is the right thing to do. The problem is though is that in certain groups it is a lot more prominent
Yeah.
because of the culture. One of those groups that I'm referring to, of course, is Christianity, because it is a huge thing in Christianity and Catholicism specifically. Uh, actually, I was watching this video the other day where a guy was talking about the statistics of sexual abuse, and because he was talking about it with like drag queens, because of course, drag queens are gonna rape and groom children and all this other
No.
bullshit, which has never happened. Like there has not been a single case of a drag queen doing this. And over the past month, they have arrested over 700 people who were all associated
Yeah.
with clergy
Yeah.
in a church for sexually
Yeah.
assaulting children. That's over
Yeah.
700 in a month. Do you know how many drag
Big fat
queens
zero.
were in that? Not a
Big fat zero.
not a one.
And that's what cracks me up
Not a one.
is you have if you're gonna call other groups out, you have to look at yourself first. You have to look at yourself first.
Well, and it's not even calling
Like,
other groups out. It's
don't go point the
accusations.
finger
It's
at somebody else and then it comes out of like, oh shit, we need to maybe look within our organization before we start pointing fingers. I was actually reading an article like before we started doing this, and it deals with the satanic panic being a trauma like stress response, right? And part of the article was about how during the time of this there was a major political kind of shift and the conservative Christian party was actually kind of taking over politically at the time here in the US. Like we were having a major shift happen kind of socially with
because the evangelicals were kind of taking
yeah,
over, and that's
yeah.
I'll get to
But
that
it
in a
was
minute.
just like
Sorry,
it was
continue.
they're like basically talking about how right at the time that this was all happening, we were kind of going through a major like cultural shift, and that in turn causes our society to go through a trauma type stress response. And the conservative party wanted to point out that this other counterculture was bad, and it's like, but we're not, we just don't want to deal with your bullshit. And that's kind of what the article kind of goes into, was that the satanic panic is in fact a trauma stress response to kind of like the culture and the political shift that was happening at the time, because they're like, this isn't the first time that this has happened. You have to think of in the early days of Christianity, when Christianity was prosecuted by the Romans, and then in turn Jews, other cultures were prosecuted, and then you have example like the witch hunts, and you have to think of the social kind of cultural things that are happening at the time. In late 80s, 90s, we were kind of going through a lot culturally, which I think not a lot of people took into account, that we were not a very religious we were becoming not a very religious country, if that makes sense.
Well, so here a couple notes on that. So one, the United
Yeah.
States was founded
Yeah.
partly on religious freedom. We're not supposed to be a
No.
religious country. We're supposed to be a country of like diversity, and where
Mm-hmm.
people can express themselves and not force their ideologies on others. That was part of the premise, even though, I'm not going to get into the fact that this country was built on slave labor or anything like that. That is an entirely different episode. But my hair is a mess right now. Sorry. But I'm just
I was
gonna.
like, we're both still in our PJs, so it's fine.
Yeah. So that's a whole
Yeah.
other issue. But the evangelicals rose to power in this country, and they're still trying to hold on to power because they've lost most of their power, and people in politics that are evangelical mindset are pushing that, and they're trying to push their practices out on people. It frustrates me to the point where I don't even know what to say. And I mean, stuff that I know a lot about, you can ask Kelsey or anyone else who knows me. Stuff I know a lot of stuff about, I have strong opinions on because I have knowledge of those things. But this just has me so frustrated and so aggravated because it's so dumb.
Yes.
It is dumb.
Part of that same article actually goes into like the Michelle Remembers thing. And that's one of the reasons why I read Unmask Alice instead of Go Ask Alice, because I owned Go Ask Alice, and I was like, let's read the other version. And part of the article goes into was the recovered memories of people, when they would use the technique from Michelle Remembers, and the whole going under with hypnosis and like all that stuff, the memories from adults were drastically more horrific than the confessions and like the leading questions from children. Yes, all the acts of
Well, that's because they weren't
yes,
real.
like I'm not knocking. Maybe some of these children actually did go through horrific things. And there are horrible cases of children being abused physically, sexually, mentally, all the versions. I Yes, some of these children might have been actually happening. However, I don't think in a lot of these cases it actually happened. And when I talk in the true crime episode, a lot of the people that were found guilty with satanic ritual abuse in their cases, they are actually getting exonerated now because the case that they had back then comes to find out, oh shit, they actually didn't do it. The outcast in your society actually didn't do it. It was the Joe Schmo down the street who's actually quite popular type thing.
Yeah, and statistically speaking, when SA
Mm-hmm.
happens to children, it's, you know, 99% of the time it's someone that,
Yeah.
is a family member or someone that is well
Yes.
known by the family.
It is. Yes.
It's not a stranger, it's
No.
not the weirdo.
No. And that's why I'm like, I'm not knocking. Some of these children possibly could have gone through some form of abuse. Not knocking. And there are a lot of children in our country today that do go through a lot of abuse. Not knocking it. It does happen. However, I'm not gonna. I'm really hard to believe that it's this random stranger versus the weird uncle that you have that everyone's just like, oh, it's just your weird uncle or whatever. It's just that weird, the
Hey, don't
weird,
knock the weird uncle. I take that joke with
different
pride.
weird uncle. Creepy yeah, it's a
Yeah,
different kind of
different
weird.
kind of weird.
Like gives you the creeps, you know, type thing. Like, and that's what
Yeah.
I forget. Let me pull up. It's a school. It's a I don't even know what school this is from. But it's kind of like a paper. It's called Social Psychological Views of the Controversial Issue of the Satanic Ritual Abuse, the Three Faces of the Devil. And she goes into um basically there's three different trauma responses that does happen during this time. Um Satanic ritual abuse as subversion ideology. So subversion ideology is a cultural constructed myth that gives shape and form to feelings of anxiety and uncertainty about the future that tend to be experienced during periods of rapid and unpredictable social change. Then she goes into satanic ritual abuse as rumor panic, which has definitely been happening. That's as people kind of look back, they're like, this is kind of what it felt like. So it's sometimes referred to as moral panic. It's a collective stress reaction in response to a belief in stories that immediately threaten um, circumstances. So this tends to be triggered by unusual or disturbing rumors about which factual information is lacking, incomplete, or just doesn't have all the details there, and they just kind of fabricate what they want. And then satanic ritual abuse as a contemporary legend, um, because as we go about things, the start of the Satanic Panic with Michelle Remembers and Go Ask Alice, you start to see poisoned trick or treat candy, poison candy, razors and apples, and then um trafficking of children of in malls, and then she kind of goes into about how the satanic panic really centers around children. A lot of the ritual abuse centers around stuff that's happening to children, and that's because children represent the future. Therefore, in a contemporary legend, they become a metaphor for the actual future. Thus, people's anxiety about the future, which often is diffused in nimbus, can be expressed with more certainty as a concern about the safety of the children. So it becomes like this satanic abuse starts to become like these, like those tales that your parents always told you about, don't go in the forest because the boogeyman's there or whatever. That's what the satanic panic they kind of see starts to happen, of don't trust the punks because the punks in society are going to kill you type thing, is what she kind of goes into, is like satanic panic kind of starts to become a legend about endangered children. Which, I mean, it does happen. Our children are getting abused. Not knocking. Where'd you go?
Real quick, sorry if there's any weirdness in the audio, guys. Our recording thing we used to record kind of went really wonky, and I
Yeah.
got booted out for some reason.
Yeah. And it decided that you shouldn't be here, apparently.
I guess. I mean, kind of rude, but okay.
That is rude. That is very rude. But getting back to the ritual abuse, um, the other part of this article, a lot of the other articles I was actually finding, there's a link that kind of happens between satanic ritual abuse and multiple personality disorder.
Well, I mean, if you're
Or
forcing, like, if you're manipulating children and their memories, or like, giving false impressions into what happened,
yeah,
I could see that, because it's gonna take it and it's gonna like force a division in the psyche and saying this happened, but this also didn't happen.
yeah, yeah. That was a lot of the other articles I was kind of reading, were because they saw that like some of these children were like demonically possessed, that they were in fact they had multiple personality disorder. So you kind of see a rise in the term clinically, along with the psychotherapy that starts to rise with all these abuse allegations.
So, in other words, these children have issues because of demons, not because of
Because of
how we
anything.
treated them and what we've done to them, or pre-existing conditions. It's the demons,
Yes, absolutely.
because it's such
Absolutely
a
correct.
convenient thing to blame it on.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I wholeheartedly believe in demons and spirits and things of the nature, but it's like, guys, come the fuck on. You can't just blame stuff on something else and like not take responsibility for your own actions, which is it, it happens way too often.
Correct. Correct. There, like I said, there's abuse that actually absolutely happens to children. I absolutely believe that. However, do I think the demon did it? No. Do I think that the creepy uncle that everyone's tolerated for years in the family did it? Probably.
Well, and children have such active imaginations, and they manifest things in certain ways. Like if it something makes them feel a certain way, or if they've, watched a horror movie and then they relate that to what they've experienced, then
Yeah.
obviously, it's going to manifest in a certain way. Like if you see someone or something as a monster, you're going to feel that it is a monster.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I absolutely believe that. They have very active and children are going to create things that's going to protect their brains. We as humans do that. We create
Yep.
things to protect ourselves,
Yep.
especially when you go through a very traumatic thing like abuse. That's going to create weird, not weird, but there it's going to create some boundaries, some strange things. You might not see the person who's abusing you as a person. It might become a monster in your head just to kind of save yourself, or you might dissociate.
Yeah, especially if
Kind of.
like someone or something. treats you one way around people and another way while you're alone. You know,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. I absolutely feel that way. Absolutely. But that's kind of all that I kind of found. Oh, and then the conspiracy theory that there's a global organization that's that this whole thing is run through this group of elite Satanists that
well,
run that.
it's because they want the children's adrenochromes because
Yeah,
Lizard Illuminati.
yeah, they want to kidnap the children to breed the children to produce child pornography and to put the children into prostitution. That which do I think there's a group going around doing a big ring of child abuse? Absolutely. I absolutely truly believe that there's a group of elite people that are covered because they are elites that do those things. Absolutely. I absolutely believe
You
that.
said doo doo.
Huh?
I said ha. You said doo doo.
um,
But no, no, I agree. Like there is some kind of group. There is something out there that does some sketchy shit. But
yes.
is it as prominent as these these accusations make it out to be, or is it satanic? I don't think so.
No. 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 I think you have a lot of people that don't want to investigate things. I
Because when they investigate, they come up missing. I mean, just look at the whole
yes.
Epstein thing.
Yes. Yes. And look how many people were a part of his group that were a part of his little child island thing. I do think that good old boys have gotten away with a lot of good old boy things, and now we're kind of. I think during the 80s and 90s when this was happening, you kind of started to see possibly good old boys getting in trouble for doing these things. So all of a sudden, and I mean culturally, we were kind of going through a lot at the time. Um, that all this stuff starts to happen, and now, even now, the Jeffrey Epstein thing, now that's quietly gone under the rug.
And I think the reason why, since we're not getting those names, because both, like, he died, and then I don't remember what happened to his lawyer or accountant or whatever the fuck she was, but she kind of disappeared.
Yep.
I don't think we're getting those names because I think it would completely destroy the political parties in this
Yeah.
country because of, like, just the wealthy people that are involved with it. I don't think we're ever going to see those names.
No. And I think you are absolutely correct in that. I really don't think we're going to see those names. Um, I just, yeah, we're not going to see a lot of the papers, the evidence that he has on those people. I just don't think that that's going to happen. Like that's the one part of that conspiracy theory I'll believe. Like, yeah, I do think that there's a big group of elite people that do harm children. Absolutely. Do I believe that they're Satanists? Absolutely not.
Nope.
Do I believe they're Christian? They who claim to be Christians? Absolutely. Like,
Do I believe they're super huge in theatrics? 100%.
yes. There's a lot that goes
Because
into
they're rich, eccentric assholes.
yes. 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 And that's kind of the I think part of the satanic panic was all these things were happening that were kind of maybe starting to come out, and it's a deflective thing, I think.
Yeah.
You can't notice what's going on if we kind of point the finger at the outcasts of society. You
Well, and
can't.
it's perfect, like, abuser behavior. Like, it's perfect textbook
Mm-hmm.
abuser behavior of, I'm doing something fucked up, so I'm gonna blame someone else for it. It's
Mm-hmm.
gaslighting, 100% gaslighting.
Yes. 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 Do I think like I said, I do think abuse actually happened for some kids. Do I think they got justice? Probably not, because of this whole thing that was going on. Do I think as a society we are easily manipulated? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Nothing in Michelle Remembers was true. Nothing in Go Ask Alice was true. Nothing in the next books that, that author wrote after Go Ask Alice was true. She ripped off a family that gave her their son's diary, his journal, and completely fabricated what actually happened.
Yep.
And it's like, we have access to more information than we've ever had. Ever had. And you're telling me you're still so easily manipulated? And you can so easily believe what the government is telling you? Oh yeah, those group of kids, the Memphis 3, those boys totally did that. They totally did that. Well, guess what? Those Memphis 3, they got exonerated. They didn't actually do that to that kid. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. Shocker. Yeah. Shocker. But a lot of those boys weren't very intelligent, and they were very easily manipulated.
Yep.
And it's like, guys, even now with everything, because there's still a lot of shuck and driving happening in the society now, because we're in a cultural shift again. Don't believe everything. And if people
honestly, we're on the verge of a civil war, like,
yeah,
because of like just the division in this country. It's the wrong thing happens, like one slight thing happens, and there's gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
I have no doubt on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, if people are making you look the left, they're making you look over here, make sure you look to the other side, kind of see what else is happening. Because I think a lot of this could have been avoided if.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of stage magic. I'm a huge fan of stage magic, and that's exactly what this is. It's sleight of hand.
Mm-hmm.
You distract them going one way to do something over here. I mean, just look at perfect example. Look at the meetings that the House has been doing lately with the basically they confirmed of extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Like, they've said, we have non-human DNA on file that we got out of, a spacecraft, and that there's documentation of these spacecrafts that we have recordings of that we have no clue what they were, and there's non-human DNA, and it may or may not be a drone from another country, but it may or may not be something from another world.
Yes.
It's like, okay, you guys are like releasing this information now.
Yes.
What are you not telling us?
Exactly. Yep. And that's what cracked me up about like when COVID happened and everyone was so worried about the vaccine. Like, they're putting microchips in us, they're gonna track us. That's what cracked me up. It's like, people, are you just not smart enough to understand that the cell phone that you have in your pocket, they've already been doing that. And all those like Google Home and Amazon things that you have in your house. Come on, guys. If you really think that a vaccine, that they're going to put a microchip in you, they've been fucking tracking your ass for years because you're not intelligent to understand that they've already been doing it. They've been just disguising it as a Google Home or your fucking cell phone.
It's the Patriot Act. It's the Patriot Act. And they just basically, they're, the more things you buy, smart devices you buy, it just makes it easier. Everything you post on social media, people use Snapchat a lot with like the filters and stuff. Guess what? That's facial recognition software, guys.
Yeah.
Like, it literally maps out your face to place the whatever filters on your face.
Yep. That's what cracks me up. It's like, guys, we're going through the same thing. The same thing that happened during Satanic Panic, we are going through again.
Yep.
It's never going to go away. This has happened multiple times in society, going way back centuries. It's a cycle. And I really hope that there's enough counterculture in people today that do your research with stuff, look up articles. We have so much access to so much information. Guys, Don't
And
believe
do
everything.
yeah, do legitimate articles and take different points of view into effect. Don't just say, hey, this agrees with what I believe, so I'm going to take it and believe
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
Like
don't
yeah.
align yourself with one ideology. Educate yourselves.
Yes. 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 That's what like I see on Reddit a lot of times, kind of going back to like the purpose of why we kind of started this was kind of going into our spiritual journey, kind of documenting of the topics that, is recommended to research and stuff. And I kept seeing posts about these women or whoever on Reddit would be like, they want to classify themselves as like a certain witch. And it's like, you don't have to put a label on anything if you haven't done enough research. And it's okay to constantly change the label of what you are based on the research that you've done and where you're at in your life.
Yeah, I mean, journeys are never ending, and that's what
Yes.
your spirituality or your just life decisions based off of intellect or based off of every aspect of your life. You're not defined as just one thing. I mean,
No.
some people are like, I'm a mother, or I want to be a mother, or I want to be this and I want to be that. Well, you know what, that's life is transition, life is a journey,
Yeah.
life is change.
Yes. Yes. And that's actually one thing I've actually said to my husband when we eventually have kids is I don't want to be just known as being a mom. I'm more to myself than just being a mom. Like
Hmm.
when I hit that point, you know? Like and I
Yeah.
feel a lot of people, especially women or whoever, has the child or is the primary caregiver, you lose your sense of identity during that. And I'm like, I'm not losing that in myself. Yes, I will bring children into this world in everything, but I'm not losing my identity as a human because I'm sacrificing bringing in another human. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. Like that's part of my changing of being a human. In when I was talking to certain coworkers when I left my first job, and I use our friendship a lot when I talk to people of yes, I had a toxic job, but it's brought me a friend that I can constantly change with,
Hmm.
constantly evolve with. And I know that as I change, he's also changing too. Like the friendship I had with you 10 years ago is not what I have today because we both have had our own journeys that run parallel and we've been able to grow with each other at the same time. And
and
I think
we've
with,
had understanding of I'm not the
yeah,
same person I was.
no, no. And I think as we as humans, we get stuck with these labels of, I'm one thing. I have to always identify as one thing because that's the research that I have, and I don't want to change my view. It's okay to change your view. You're a human and you're meant to grow. You're meant to do that. I've read countless articles about how, like, on not articles, but like posts on the LGBT Reddit feed of like, my parent was very against me, but now over time, now that they've kind of done their own research, now they're a lot more accepting of me than they were when we initially started this like queer journey of me being their kid and being identifying as something in the alphabet mafia. Like, you're you're okay to evolve and change. It's okay to have different viewpoints and different points of your life. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. And don't always listen to whatever you're being told because not everything you're being told is the truth, not only from like the news media, but like people in your life in general. We kind of
And
learn.
it's not always true to you either, because I mean there are,
Correct.
of course, universal truths, but there are truths that are true to certain people.
Yes. Everyone has morals to a degree.
Well, they
To
should.
a degree. Well, I was forget what I was listening. It was either I was listening to it or like I was watching a show, but like even someone who is a psychopath has morals. However, their morals are different from yours. It's their own morals. Like, this guy wouldn't kill. He didn't start a killing spree and became a serial killer until after he put his dog down. Because his dog was like his moral, that his dog was his moral. Like, making sure that the dog was alive, had a home, had a yard, had food and all this, having the dog alive was his moral. It wasn't, I mean,
Mm.
you know, I got to make sure all my animals stay alive, and same with you. But like, as soon as he had to put his dog down, he became a serial killer. And it's like, it's not a conventional moral, but it's his moral.
Yeah. So,
This is a different episode than what we normally do.
yeah, this is
This is what happens when we don't have notes and we just kind of wing it.
yeah.
I think it's a good episode, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with everything we've been going through, both of us
Oh, yeah.
personally. But I
Yeah.
think it's about time for us to wrap up and do our readings.
Yes, and I have to laugh. You'll all laugh at this. What did you get?
Did you get a cup?
The ace.
I got the 10 of cups.
God, the ace of potions. I have to laugh maniacally at this. That's fucking funny.
So for those of you who are newer listeners, since we started doing this, with the exception of I think one, maybe two times, one of us has gotten cups. So the last time neither one of us got cups.
No.
So this time we both got cups.
No, but I think last time we both pulled
Major Arcana.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, the word is escaping my brain.
All right, what is the Ace of Cups represent?
So keywords: new feelings, spirituality, and intuition. So a seed has been planted, one that has the potential to blossom beautifully into a great emotional and spiritual awareness, where the Ace of Cups shows itself. It heralds the beginning of deep connections and intimacy, which can be both romantic or platonic, so non-romantic. Let this new attraction or intuition grow. Learn to trust it and follow it. It can lead you to new horizons.
Interesting. So the 10 of Cups, keywords: divine love, blissful relationships, harmony, and alignment. The 10 of Cups embodies happiness, joy, and emotional contentment, particularly in your relationships and family. You have created an abundance of love and happiness in your life, and you now share this love with others, expanding your heart even more. This card often appears when you are surrounded by loved ones with whom you share a powerful and deep connection. You appreciate and support one another, and together you help each other reach your highest potential. It brings you so much joy to see your loved ones succeed and live happy lives. So I'm going to say that this is, this is an interesting combination reading to me.
Yes.
So to me, it would represent that, expansion on, or that the seeds and basis of your future is sown, and that you should cherish and nurture that, because when you cherish and nurture a seed, it's going to grow even stronger, and that if you cherish and nurture that, it grows stronger. You are going to have an abundance, and you will be able to share in the joy of abundance with those that you love and care about.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Like, because all I can think about is I've worked overnight for almost 4 years now. Almost the entirety of my relationship that I've had with my husband. And our relationship has revolved around my sleep schedule. Every family interaction has revolved around my sleep schedule. Well, guess what? Now it doesn't. Now I can go to bed whenever I want, and I don't have to worry about that. Him and I can actually go to bed at the same time, and it's just like actually have what we did when we first started dating before I went to overnight, and to start the next phase of our chapter and be normal. As normal
Yeah.
as we can. Like when I get off work tomorrow, there's a local farmers market that I've been wanting to go to for years since we moved in. Well, I can finally go now. Like I'm so excited. I know it's a small farmers market, but it's like I've been wanting to go to this for years.
I mean, farmers markets are badass and a lot of fun. I will say this though, for anyone going to farmers markets, one, obviously, highly recommend going to farmers markets over uh, major corporations. But
Yes.
two, be careful out there because, especially if you are, of European descent or of Northern Asian descent, uh, farmers markets are a hotbed for white supremacists, and they like to try and
Yes.
recruit people there.
Yes. Yes.
So our POCs, be careful out there because some people are kind of sketch, and it's
Yeah.
usually easy to tell who's
Oh,
who.
yeah.
Um, they they
For
they look a
sure.
certain way. Uh, you know, not saying judging a book by its cover, because I was complaining or will be complaining to Kelsey about that, and if it our review episode, complained about it when we recorded earlier.
Yeah.
But there are certain books that it's totally easy to judge by its cover.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, that the cards definitely ring true. Like I'm starting in a lot of new chapter with my life, leaving a toxic relationship, whether that's in the workplace or romantic or platonic in any way, changes a lot of things in your life. And I have been in this toxic relationship for 14 years. And
Like
it's
you sound like you're about to cry.
like not to get weird, but to clock out for the last time, it was like the last day of school, like senior year, like the last day of school. That's what it felt like. Like you're like, "Oh my god, what I've been doing for my whole life, it's done." And I honestly thought that would be the job I would have for forever. And that is not the case. I thought I would
Yep.
legit be there for forever. Obviously, that's not how my life is going now. So it's a lot of shock for me of I've worked, you know, 55, 60 hours a week for a good amount of years now, and to go to a third of that, that's a shock for me. And
Yeah.
it in leaving any form of toxic, especially toxic workplace, because I there's also a little bit of guilt of I'm leaving a lot of good genuine people behind that I don't want to see the shitstorm that's about to happen to. Um but I also know that they are trying to find their own ways out like I did. So I know that they're also preparing their exit plan. So it's just
Yeah.
it's like a survivor's guilt almost of like you're stuck there but I've left and I can now come and go as much as I want and I'm not stuck type thing. So being able to have a normal relationship with my husband of now when I get home, if I work during the day, I don't have to go, okay, I've got 2.5 hours to eat, sleep, and see you for 45 minutes. Like, you know, I can now have a normal night, have a normal day type thing, which is so refreshing to have. And I'm interested to see now how my days are going to go. Like,
Yeah.
it's, yeah, like the cups, it's like, okay, this makes sense because now I can actually, my relationships that I had with people at work, well, now they're going to be changing into, if we're meant to be friends, our relationship's going to change as we go through different changes of life. And same with it, me and my husband. Well, now we get to go to bed together and we get to wake up together and different things now. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go.
Yeah. I mean, I've got my last job. I keep in contact with my boss from corporate. Interestingly enough,
Mm-hmm.
like I still talk to him from time to time. We still, share book recommendations, and it's freaking crazy because some of
Yeah.
the people that you meet just stay with you,
Yeah.
and that's what life's about. That's what evolving and growing is about, and I think that we need to put more emphasis on that as a culture.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I think that wraps up our episode
For today.
fairly well.
Yes. So for the next couple of episodes, we're gonna be kind of talking about some lightheartedness, because this has been a
We got the
very
Mother Goddess coming up. We
yeah.
got, I think, werewolves coming up. Is that right?
We're gonna talk about some after I think we're gonna talk about some random like superstitions around the world after Mother Goddess, and then we're gonna be talking about some werewolves, kind of lighten up, because then we're gonna kind of go into a little mini chakra type mini series, so that way we don't shove all the chakras in one episode. We'll go into depth about all the different chakras. So that's what we got lined up, kind of make this a little bit lighthearted as we kind of go into fall and everything. Yep. So as always, please rate, review, and subscribe. Please tell a friend. I'm sorry for those who would listen to us on Stitcher. I'm just as upset as you are, because that's how I listen to my stuff, which was on Stitcher. And Stitcher, the app, is closing all of their things. The app, the website, whole 9 yards. So I'm sorry about that. We were on Stitcher, but we're on pretty much everywhere else. Amazon, Google. I've had to find my own on Audible again, and this sucks. So I get it. But if you have any book recommendations or topic recommendations, you can email us at thewaywe'redragons@gmail.com. Very open to book recommendations if you listen to our side episodes. So yeah. So until next
We'll
time.
read just about anything.
He will.
With the exception of we'll listen or read to just about anything with the exception of a few things. You can hear my rants about that in our next side episode.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Whew, that one's
I'm
easy.
opinionated. I'm sorry, guys.
You don't have to apologize for being opinionated.
Yep, so until next time, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Kelsey. Bye.
Bye.